In the past few weeks, a good number of people from Most Sacred Heart have been visited by death. People have buried loved ones that include spouses, parents, siblings, and even children. To each person here who has known such loss, just please be assured of our love. I know it is so lonely sometimes to watch the rest of the world go on as if nothing happens. There's that whole mixture of emotions, right? And I do believe that there's life after death. I do believe that love is forever. I do. And it stinks to have to watch other people grieve or try to figure out how to make our way now. So again, be assured of our love. Our most recent funeral here was yesterday when friends and family gathered to bury Steve Hayes, new to our parish. In her eulogy, Steve's daughter said that when the family gathered after his death to go through pictures and share memories, she said this sentence that seemed to resonate with them. She said, "We are lucky." And she said her family understood. And then she explained to all of us gathered for the funeral what she meant by that. She said, "Our dad created this deep family unity we felt then and that we feel every time we're together. He spent his life building the love, trust, and respect that we now have for one another. That kind of bond doesn't happen by accident." She's right. That kind of bond does not happen by accident. And so she ends, "So Dad, thank you for loving us, for teaching us, and for giving us the best of you. We promise to carry your legacy forward in how we treat others, and how we show up for our families, and in how we live our lives." I share those words because those are the types of things that I hear from people when there is the death of a loved one, that they cherish those kind of qualities, right? And those are the things that matter to them, and I believe deep down matter to each of us. You know, the person who died might or might not have a fancy car or a huge house. Doesn't seem to matter very much right then, does it? The person might have, eaten at fancy restaurants or taken lavish vacations. No one seems to really care about that kind of stuff right then. And Jesus speaks to this very reality today. He tells the story of someone who missed the important and lasting values because he had convinced himself that if he only had more stuff or a more lavish lifestyle, that then he would have joy. And so he missed the ordinary miracles that were around him all the time, the blessing of the meaning that is to be found for those of us when we're awake, and the joy that really is available. Jesus says, avoid greed in all its forms. Now, he's not shaming the rich. He's saying, but make sure you understand that that's not what will bring you joy. Of course, he will say many times, be sure you share with those in need. But it's less the possessions themselves, though we can sometimes become possessed by our possessions if we're not careful, right? But he said it's really mostly that desire to think we have to have more. Jesus wants us to have a happier life and a happier death by remembering those values that we know deep down do matter. I mean, you've likely heard the old saying about death and the stuff that we accumulate. You can't take it with you. And we can't. None of it lasts, right? You can't take phone, cars, whatever, houses, bank accounts. But the corollary to that is there is that which we can take with us and that we do take with us. And what is that? These are the quality relationships we've nurtured along the way. These are the values that have been forged in our soul by choosing now to be kind and generous and loving. That helps us become the kind of person that we are in here. And that is indeed what we carry into the life beyond this life. Quality time that doesn't necessarily mean we need to spend a bunch of money. The good that we do now, again, this is what lasts. The other stuff suddenly goes away. Who we are and have become in here, that is forever. And sometimes we just forget that. And so we can get easily fall victim to the idea we just need more, right? I mean, who doesn't want more likes on something you post on social media? It's never enough, is it? Bank accounts, whatever. Who doesn't want more? It seems to be never enough, right? Because somehow we've got it in our brains that that's going to bring us joy. But again, when it's the time that we face the death of a loved one or our own death, we realize that's not what truly lasts, is it? I'm happy for people like Sarah's family who did appreciate what they had while they had it. And I think the death of loved ones can be for us a reminder. Wait, what really does matter? How do I want to be now and at the hour of my death? Who is this me that continues on? So I'll end with this analogy that I mentioned to some of you in 2022, after the pandemic had greatly or mostly eased and the daily death toll had decreased dramatically. I mentioned this other, I think, awful disease that is of pandemic size and proportion as well. One that leads people to unhappy lives and sadly sometimes unhappy deaths. And I call this one the if-only syndrome. Now those with this kind of thinking, it shows up at that if-only phrase is in our mouths or sometimes in here. It shows up in grade school. You hear kids like, yeah, if only I had this, like, if only I had a phone, then I'd be happy, right? Or if only I could get out of 8th grade, or then my real life would start. Or maybe if only I got into college, or if only I made that team, or if only she would be willing to go out with me, then I'd have a reason to be happy or to live. Or it's maybe, if only I could get my own car, my own enough likes on social media, then I'd feel good about myself. And on it goes. If only I was married, then I'd settle down. If only we had kids, then we come back to the practice of our faith. And then it's not long before I hear, if only I could retire, then I could breathe and, savor my blessings. And then I always hear, not always, but I sometimes hear this truly sad one. If only I could do it all over again, then I would appreciate what I had while I had it. And then it's too late. We've if-only'd ourselves out of existence. It's a dreadful disease, and it's much too common. The antidote? To think again. What most deeply brings joy? What does last? What do I want my loved ones to remember about the kind of person I am? Who is it that I want to take in here into the life beyond this life? And is this not true that, at least on some level, all of that truly matters to us is available right now to us? And each right now to those of us awake enough to see.